All right, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day 23 of albums that are 50 years old in 2021. Of course, we are drawing from the year 1971. Pretty damn magical year, right? So many legendary albums, legendary bands, classic bands, rock, hard rock, jazz, folk, pop, you name it, man. So much greatness from this year. And every day throughout the month of February. We're almost done, right? We only got 5 more days left. Every day for 28 straight days, I am picking from my list of top 28 releases from that year. I'm also each day going to give you a honorable mention, so that gives you 56. 56 great albums from 1971 turning 50 years old this year. So today we've got the second appearance by this band in this little countdown from me. I think most of you knew this was kind of coming, right? It was released on November 26, 1971, recorded at Advision and Fitzrovia Studios in London, produced by the band and Eddie Offord, released on Atlantic Records. Of course, I'm talking about Fragile by Yes, or Fragile, as my Italian friends might like to say. Pretty damn good album. Arguably one of the band's greatest achievements, and of course also the album that brought on board perhaps their classic lineup in the eyes of many. So of course the Yes album saw Steve Howe coming in, replacing Peter Banks on guitar. That album would also be the last album with Mr. Tony Kaye on Hammond organ and piano. He would soon leave afterwards. They would bring in a guy who was making a little name for himself, playing with David Bowie, as well as Straubs. Of course, I'm talking about Rick Wakeman. So there you have John Anderson, Chris Squire, Steve Howe, Rick Wakeman, and Mr. Bill Bruford. To many, considered the classic lineup of the band. Of course, after Bruford would leave, after the Close to the Edge album, so of course that lineup recorded those 2 albums, Fragile and Close to the Edge, Alan White would come in, long-standing, seat in the chair, which for a lot of people, Alan White is the definitive drummer for Yes because of the long tenure. But a lot of people look back on Fragile and Close to the Edge as 2 greatest albums from the band, the best lineup. All depends on what you like, right? So here we have an interesting album. Again, we've got that Roger Dean artwork on the cover for the very first time. Here we have a bunch of main tracks, a handful of main tracks, and then a bunch of little kind of ditties, which are more in line of almost like, solo pieces from the band. So it starts off with Roundabout, right? Perhaps their most well-known song. Although about a decade later they do Owner of a Lonely Heart, which became their biggest hit single, but Roundabout was their main, big song throughout the 70s, still played on classic rock radio all the time. Then you've got Cons and Brahms, a little instrumental. That's a little Rick Wakeman ditty, right? Then you have We Have Heaven, which is a little John Anderson ditty, all right, mostly a little vocal piece. Then you've got the big rocker on the album, South Side of the Sky, which is written by Anderson and Chris Squire. Really great song, 8 minutes. A lot of good muscular guitar from Howe. Great little instrumental bits, good chorus. Just a really, really endearing song. One of those tracks from the early part of the Yes catalog that I always wish the band would have played live more. I know they have put it in the set quite a bit in more recent times, but I think back in the day it was kind of ignored, and it's always been, if not my favorite, my second favorite song on this album. Then, of course, we kick off side 2 of the LP, if you have the LP, which is 5% for Nothing, all right, which is this little, little Bill Bruford thingamajiggy there, right? And then you have, of course, Long Distance Runaround, another classic song by the band, which segues right into The Fish, which is the Chris Squire's little Time to Shine, his little bass solo, right? They both kind of go hand in hand there. Then, of course, you got Mood for a Day, which is this little gymnastic Steve Howe classical piece. And then, of course, perhaps the, Piece de Resistance, the big epic track at the end of the album, Heart of the Sunrise, excuse me. Which, who doesn't love Heart of the Sunrise, man, right? At the time when this album was released, Heart of the Sunrise was looked at as one of the most challenging pieces of music we'd ever heard in rock, right? And it's a great one, written by Anderson, Squire, and Bruford. Really complex, I mean, just incredible stuff, incredible stuff. Of course, singles released at the time, which one was included on the remaster of the CD, which was their version of America, which, of course, the classic Paul Simon track. So there you have it. Roger Dean, of course, doing the artwork, full album artwork for the very, very, very first time. Very cool. So that is my main pick for today. And my honorable mention, ironically enough, here's the interesting story. I originally, when I was first putting this list together, I originally said I wasn't going to include any band more than once on the list. And actually, Fragile was relegated to honorable mention. And about midway through the month, about a week or so ago, I was like, I'm having a hard time leaving Fragile off of my absolute favorites list. And actually, the two that I'm talking about here were flip-flopped. So Fragile was the honorable mention for my pick, which was Metal by Pink Floyd. And the more I thought about it, it's like, you know what? I really like this album a lot. But, you know, Fragile is greatness, right? As moments of this are. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to flip-flop them, because when it comes right down to it, as much as I absolutely love Echoes, which is one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs of all time, and One of These Days, I'm finding some of the middle section of this album, yeah, not quite up to the standard of the bookend tracks on here. So I said, you know what, I'm flip-flopping these. So Fragile is my main pick. Metal is my honorable mention for today. Of course, this was released October 31st, 1971. Recorded at AIR, Abbey Road, and Morgan Studios in London. Released on the Harvest record, right? Harvest record label. So again, some great stuff on here, and some more kind of like folky, mellow stuff, right? So like I said, you got the big bombastic One of These Days, which is ominous, in your face. You know, bum ba bum ba bum ba bum. You know, that bass. Right, the great slide guitar from Waters. From Gilmore. You got the creepy little vocalizations, which I think is from Waters, if I'm not mistaken. You've got Echoes, which takes up all of side 2, 23 minutes and change, which is one of the creepiest epic compositions in rock and roll, in my opinion. And I still remember, like, being in college in the early mid-'80s and living with a bunch of guys who were not metalheads or hard rock fans at all, and I was the only one. And, you know, we'd have these late evenings where we're all kind of sitting around together. Yeah, you can imagine. And one of my suite mates was a huge Pink Floyd fan, and he would always put this album on, and specifically Echoes. I remember the first time I heard Echoes, I was like, wow, close to freaking out here listening to this, because I'd never listened to it beforehand. I was never much of a Pink Floyd fan, you know, other than casually, before I went away to college, and I became an instant fan. And Echoes just literally creeped me the hell out, but in a good way. And I still love it to this day. And, you know, I mean, Seamus, Saint-Tropez. Saint-Tropez is a pretty cool song. Fearless, A Pillow of Winds. Those are like kind of nice songs. For me, they don't quite match up with the greatness that is the first track and the last track. But those two songs totally elevate this album. And I think this is, you know, those middle songs are a kind of a change of pace for the band, which I can totally respect and I kind of dig. So, yeah, so Metal is my honorable mention for today. And, of course, the main pick is Fragile. So there you go. 1971, both are 50 years old today, so in the comments below, please list your pick of the day, one of your favorites, and an honorable mention as we finish up the month of February, and then we move on to other things. Of course, we've got Dream Set List running each and every day throughout the month of March, so stay tuned for that starting on Monday. And stay tuned tonight if you're a prog rock fan. We're going to be introducing a new show tonight called In the Prog Seat. We've got 3 guests joining me tonight. It's going to be a panel show. We're going to do these, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing them every week or every other week. We'll see. It might be bi-weekly to start, and then we'll see how it goes and how much time I have to fit them in, and we may run them weekly, so we'll see. But it's, again, just a panel show on a specific topic. Tonight's episode is all about our favorite prog or prog metal concept album. So that is coming up tonight. Stay tuned for that here on the channel. Lots more happening this week, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. If you like what you see, please consider donating to the channel via the Ko-Fi link below. Everything is greatly appreciated, whatever you can do, and we'll see you guys later on, right, within the Prog Seat. Take care. Bye-bye.